Hi, this is a video on the GCSE English Language Writing exam. This video is looking at how to write the perfect speech. This is aimed at the foundation paper, but you could definitely use it for foundation and higher. So a typical question you could get in the exam is you've been asked to give a talk to your class on the topic things I would happily put in room 101. Try to be entertaining, explain why you would want to get rid of the things you hate, and like all the writing exam questions are at 20 marks. Remember, it's a speech, but it may say give a talk. It's just the same thing as a speech. Okay, so question. Pause the video if you want to, or just think about it very quickly. What makes a speech different from any other piece of written work? So what makes a speech different? What do you have to do in a speech as opposed to in a letter, in a report, in a leaflet, or an article or a review? Well, the main thing with the speech is that you've got to talk or direct your speech towards the audience. So you've almost got to pretend you're writing, that when you're writing you're going to be talking to an audience and the audience are going to be listening to what you are saying. Remember, a speech is something that you're going to write down before performing it. It's not just on the spur of the moment. Okay, so with the audience, you need to refer to the audience deliberately at the start, throughout and the end. So a common mistake is that students will just say hello, goodbye, and they won't mention the audience or get the audience involved at all. So you've got to do it start, middle and end. Remember that in this format, the second person is the way of getting the audience interested. So using you, using we is going to get the audience involved. And the age status of the audience will define your tone. So this means you're going to speak differently if you were maybe to a group of business people as you would if it was maybe teenagers, people your own age. Normally in the GCSE exam, it will be aimed at people your age. So normally it will be a speech or talk to your classmates. Basically, talking to the audience, the technique or the writing technique we can use to do this is called direct address. I always say to my students, think of this poster. So the army poster, I want you. So the person is pointing, but they use the word you to make it sound like the poster is talking directly to you. You're the only person it's aimed at. So direct address is when you're speaking directly to the reader. It addresses the reader directly as you, or you can use we. The point of it is that it enhances the interest of the reader as it directly talks to them. So in our speech, examples that we could use with direct address are, I'm sure we all agree that, are you all aware, surely ladies and gentlemen no one believes. So the parts I've underlined here, we, you, ladies and gentlemen, these are all tactics, these are all techniques used by the writer to make the audience feel involved. And it said in our little video about a minute ago that we want to do it at the start, throughout and end of our speech. So I would say try to use one of these in each of your paragraphs. Maybe if you're doing 4 or 5 paragraphs, use direct address 4 or 5 times or more if it comes naturally. So top tips for a speech are do not use fillers. So this isn't spoken language. Remember, a speech is written down before it's performed. So don't put anything in your speeches like or oh, parts of normal day conversation. Do a brief welcome. Outline your topic, so in this case room 101. One key point in each paragraph with connectors, so I'll talk about that further on in the video. End with something memorable. Use DAFOREST, so I'll come up to that later on in the video, but you should know about it. And SPAMO, so if it comes naturally you could use similes, personification, alliteration, metaphor, onomatopoeia, but only if it comes naturally. And do what we've just said, so address the audience using you and we. So speech form, so in other words, how are we going to set out our speech? So the good thing about a speech is you haven't really got to worry about subheadings like an article, star ratings, a review, or addresses on a letter. So if you look at this speech example, which we'll be looking at in the video, I've put the title up my top. You wouldn't need to do that. But all you need to remember really with the speech is just use paragraphs and you'll be absolutely fine. Okay, but part of form is also structure. So how are we going to structure our speech? So rule of thumb, number 1, you're going to open with a welcome to your audience, which is going to be brief and simple. Outline the subject of the speech. Number 3, make 3 or 4 key points, 1 for each paragraph to support your argument. Number 4, sum up your argument and acknowledge your audience. So if we show you examples of these. Number 1, okay, remember we're doing our room 101 question. So number one, open with a welcome to your audience, or be brief and simple. Good morning, everyone. Okay, that is good enough. Very, very simple. Don't need to go in detail doing a big, amazing opening. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, classmates. Welcome, classmates. Something like that would be good. Number two, outline the subject of the speech. So my little intro is, do you ever get so annoyed by something you feel like you explode? I'm going to talk about the things I would happily put into room 101. Let me get straight to the point. We need to destroy these things forever. So that's my outline of the subject. Make 3 or 4 key points, one for each paragraph, to support your arguments. You're trying to make the audience agree with you and these things into room 101. Use DAFOREST. Number 4, sum up your argument, acknowledge your audience. So, for example, it's clear the world will be better off about these things. I want to leave you by asking, what would you all put into room 101? Thank you for listening. So, I've summed up my main points and I've said goodbye. Okay, so the things I'm going to put into room 101. So remember, in the exam, you would just need to think of 3 or 4 things really quickly. I'm going to do 3 things. My first thing I'm going to put into room 101 and get rid of forever is dancing. My second thing is snoring. And my third thing is the TV program Take Me Out. If we do a very quick plan, remember you should do a very quick plan in the exam. You probably get 1 mark for it. All I'm going to do is write down paragraphs really. So what I'm going to put in each of my paragraphs. So number 1, welcome and outline topic. Number 2, I'm going to do 1 paragraph on why I don't like snoring. Another paragraph on Take Me Out. Another paragraph on dancing. And then I'm going to say, sum up my argument and say goodbye. So that's my plan. Really simple. 5 paragraphs. So here is my model answer. So what we're going to do is, you should have a copy. If you want a copy of it, go on to bpcenglish.wordpress.com and it will be under model speech or something like that. So we're going to read through. So if you want to read it on your own, pause the video. Good morning. Do you ever get annoyed by something so much you feel like your head will explode? I'm going to talk about the things I would happily put into room 101. Let me get straight to the point. We need to destroy these things forever and make them vanish from planet Earth. I think we would all agree we need to get rid of snoring. Is there anything worse than being woken up at 3 AM by a gigantic snort? In a recent survey it said 45% of people make these nasal nightmares at least 3 nights a week. Seriously, the sound is annoying, cringing and makes me want to scream at the person to shut up. It always puts me in a revolted, rancid mood for the whole day, and my family know not to mess with me afterwards. Let's act now and get rid of it forever. Secondly, we need to say goodbye to Take Me Out. The only person I want to take out is the host, Paddy McGuinness, who arrives on the studio floor by descending a huge glittery pipe, like a showbiz turd being flushed into the nation's lap. My friend implored me to watch this dating show. She used the sort of damning language usually reserved for murderers or pathetic Z-list celebs. Can you guess my reaction? It was the worst thing I'd ever seen on television. The men are as intelligent as a bungee jumper with no rope, while the girls are even worse. Dancing at the podiums, the tango-skinned contestants only seem interested in being on TV, showing their cleavage and going to the Isle of Fernando. Well, the only thing I am interested in is turning the programme off. Let's turn it off together. Finally, I put dancing into room 101. Do we all agree there is nothing worse than seeing a man try and dance? It is clear to me, and I know girls can look good, that no man can look cool on the dance floor. I would feel more comfortable sitting on a cactus than attempting any kind of shape, move or groove at a party. If you say to your friends you don't like dancing, you'll be brutally bullied until you're doing Gangnam Style at 3 AM with all the other miserable movers. Surely I shouldn't be made to dance against my will. Annoyed and defeated, I always give in and trudge to the dingy dance floor. I hate it. In summary, the terrible trio that needs to go into room 101 are snoring, Take Me Out and dancing. I am 100% sure you'll agree with what I have said. I want to leave you now by asking, what would you all put into room 101? Thank you for listening. Okay, so if we go back to our structure, we had a welcome up here in the outline topic. I'm going to talk about room 101. Then we had 1 paragraph on snoring, 1 paragraph on Take Me Out, 1 paragraph on dancing, and then a summary and saying goodbye. So we're going to look, rest of the video, we're going to look at why this video, or why this article, or why this answer is so good. Okay, remember, big tip, you're really going to struggle if you put all your reasons for room 101 in 1 paragraph. It makes it really clear. If you just do 1 paragraph, 1 topic, 1 paragraph, another topic, 5 or 6 sentences in each one, you're going to do really well. A lot of students struggle to start the exam questions. They struggle to do their introduction. So we're going to look at how we're going to start the speech. So remember, our question is putting things into room 101. Here's my introduction. Good morning. Do you ever get annoyed by something so much you feel like your head will explode? I'm going to talk about the things I would happily put into room 101. Let me get straight to the point. We need to destroy these things forever and make them vanish from planet Earth. Okay, so I've done my good morning, really simple, that's all I need. And then all I've done then is 3 sentences, and I basically outlined what I'm going to do using the exam question, and then I've basically given a hint that I know what I'm doing, and I've even used a rhetorical question to start. So there you go. So in the red, I've used a rhetorical question just to show straight away to the examiner that I'm going to get the audience involved. Okay, and I've also made a bit of an interesting image, made an interesting opening by doing the thing about your head exploding. Okay, then I've put, I'm going to talk about the things I would happily put into room 101. So I've put that in blue. If you look at the question, okay, the question says the phrase, things I would happily put into room 101. So I've almost used words, I've copied words out of the question to help me with my intro, so you should do that. And then I've ended my intro by putting, let me get straight to the point. So I've talked about this in my letter podcast. Here we've used a colon. So if we use a colon, it's going to, first of all, look really good in your exam question, exam answer, but also it's going to up your spelling, punctuation and grammar marks. So remember, you can use a colon if you're going to introduce a list. So if I went to the shopping centre and I was going to get colon, beans, paper, Coke, whatever. Okay, but you can also use it for if you're maybe coming to a statement or something that you want to give attention to. So let me get straight to the point, colon, we need to destroy these things forever and make them vanish from planet Earth. So my let me get straight to the point part, colon, is giving attention to the fact that I'm really, really important, that I want these things to be away from planet Earth. Okay, so if we look at another question, okay, this one is your school was putting on planning to put a show at the end of the year. I've put good afternoon everyone, so again, simple intro. Then I've put don't we all love an amazing party, so again I'm using a rhetorical question to start my speech, showing that I'm going to get the audience involved. And then I've put we are planning to put on a show at the end of the year. If you look at my question, it says planning to put on a show at the end of the year, so I've used the exam question, and again I've used the phrase let me get straight to the point, colon, we need to get you all involved. So again, I've done rhetorical question to up my grades, I've mentioned what I'm going to do to up my grades, and I've used a colon to up my grades. Okay, so how are we going to impress the examiner? Okay, if you want to look at these all in detail, have a look at my video on DAFOREST, and there's also a video on impressing the examiner on YouTube. Have a look at that, BBC English. So we're going to use DAFOREST, which is direct address, alliteration, facts, opinions, rhetorical questions, emotive language, statistics, and rule 3. Again, if you want to look more of these in detail, have a look at my video on impressing the examiner. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to try and do a little plan, a DAFOREST plan, based on the speech, based on our exam question. So for example, and we're not going to do fact and opinion because I think they're pretty easy, so you can do them yourself. But direct address, the one we've talked about already, engaging the reader, I'm going to say, I'm sure you will all agree. Okay, so that's my example of direct address, that I'm saying the audience is going to get involved with me, but I'm also getting the audience involved in my speech. Alliteration, okay, miserable movers, so the repetition of the M sounds is going to catch the reader's or the audience's ear. Rhetorical question, do you ever get annoyed by something so much you feel like your head will explode? So again, I've used the question to try to get them to think. Emotive language, so this makes the text more interesting. I could have just said I want to get rid of these things into room 101, but I've put destroy these things forever and make them vanish from planet Earth. So destroy, forever, vanish, they're very emotive words that makes my text more interesting. So statistics, remember, the examiner's not going to be Googling your work, so you can make up statistics to try and prove your point. So for example, in a recent survey it said 45% of people, whatever, but using statistics makes your text seem believable, makes it seem factual. And rule of 3, making the text catchy. Snoring, the sound is annoying, cringing, and makes me want to scream. So using 3 of these makes it a bit more catchy, sticks in the reader's head. Okay, so what you should do in each of the exam questions is you should spend 2 or 3 minutes doing a very, very quick plan. 1 on how you're going to structure your work, and 2, do a little DAFOREST plan. Take you a couple of minutes and probably get you at least a couple of marks. Okay, so I got my students to find the DAFOREST, but if you want to read it and see if you can find the DAFOREST yourself, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll go through it. And there's also 2 similes in this one. Okay, so if we look at the blue, the emotive language, so I've said explode, destroy, vanish, gigantic, forever, implored, the worst thing I'd ever seen, defeated, trudge, hate. So all of these words, if you say hate, that's a lot more emotive than dislike or don't particularly enjoy. Remember, in a speech, we're almost trying to get the audience to agree with us. So we're trying to persuade the audience to agree with us that these things are awful and they should disappear forever. Okay, rhetorical questions, I've got a few. Is there anything worse than being woken up at 3 AM by a gigantic snort? Surely I shouldn't be made to dance against my will. What would you put into room 101? So all of these, trying to get the audience to think, catching their attention. Statistics, I've got, I'm sure 100% of you will agree, 45% of people make snore 3 times a week. Completely made up, but proves my point how awful snoring is. Power of 3, it's annoying, cringing, and makes me want to scream. While the women on Take Me Out only are interested in being on TV showing their cleavage and going to the Isle of Fernando. About the dancing one, I've put I wouldn't attempt to do any kind of shape, move or groove. Alliteration, I've got nasal nightmares, revolting, rancid, brutally bullied, miserable movers, dingy dance floor. And then for similes, I've got, remember similes is comparing something using like or as. I've got like a showbiz turd being flushed into the nation's lap. And I've got the men are as intelligent as a bungee jumper with no rope. So all of these things are going to up your grades. These are written under the mark scheme as stylistic devices. So if you want to get top marks, you've got to use stylistic devices. So this is DAFOREST. So you've got to make sure. There's no point learning all these writing techniques and not using them. Please make sure you use them in the exam. Okay, so DAFOREST as well. Okay, we talked about it earlier in the video. This is all my use of DAFOREST. So all the way through, remember, not just at the start, not just at the beginning. I've used DAFOREST all the way through to get the audience involved. So I won't talk about them all, but I'll talk about a few. So we need to destroy these things. So I don't just say, I think they should be destroyed. We need to, almost feels like the person who's looking at the speech has to get involved. Let's turn it off together. Can you guess my reaction? Do we all agree? What would you put into room 101? Thank you for listening. Let's act now. So all of these things are making it feel like the audience is involved. It's not just me talking, that they're a part of what I'm saying. Okay, sentence starters. So remember, we don't just want to start sentences with the or a or I. We want to do interesting sentence starters. 1, to make our text interesting, but 2, to up our grades on spelling, punctuation, accuracy and grammar. Okay, remember these are the ways that I've talked about previously in other videos that you can do. So start with a word ending in ly, so carefully. Start with a word ending in ing. Start with an adjective, a descriptive word, or start with 2 adjectives. So if you look at my text here, I haven't got too many, but I've got a few. So for words ending in ly, I've got seriously, secondly, finally, surely. For words ending in ing, I've got dancing at their podiums, comma. For my adjectives, I've got annoyed and defeated, comma. Remember, all of these sentence starters, you need a comma after them. So I've not done too many. However, I've done enough to show the examiner that I can use different sentence starters to up my grades. Okay, here's the other ways you can start your sentences. Loads of them. So firstly, secondly, thirdly, finally. That's going to be a really good way to structure your answer. But you could also do different ones, like in the same way, comma. For instance, nevertheless. Conversely, however. On the other hand. So loads of these. Okay, another way you're going to up your grades is by using different punctuation and different lengths of sentences. So I've already talked about in my first paragraph where I've put let me get straight to the point, colon, we need to destroy the thing. So that's going to up my grade. But I've also used rhetorical questions. Remember, to get a C, it's expecting you to be able to use commas, full stops, question marks. Okay. However, if we want to up our grades, we can use colons or semicolons. So definitely try and use a colon that I've used. Okay, and also it's important to do a range of sentences. So you're going to get better grades if not all your sentences are really long. So occasionally throw a short sentence in there for effect. So for example, I've done a really long sentence in the blue, it always puts me in a revolting, rancid mood for the whole day, and my family know not to mess with me afterwards. But then I've done a really short sentence by saying, let's act now and get rid of it forever, so it gives it attention. So my paragraph on take me out, I've done a few long sentences, but then I've ended with, let's turn it off together, so it brings attention to it and makes my point really forceful. And then my one about dancing, I've done a few long sentences, and I've literally just put at the end, I hate it. So again, that just exaggerates how badly or how much I hate dancing. By making it a short sentence, it makes it stand out. Okay, so remember the top tips are: do not use fillers, do a brief welcome, outline your topic, one key point in each paragraph, end with something memorable, use DAFOREST and sentence starters, and then address the audience using you and we. Okay, so good luck on the speech. Hopefully it's helped you. Like I say, if you want to download the PowerPoint, the exam question, or this model answer, go to bpcenglish.wordpress.com, and all the other videos are available on BPC English on YouTube.